Hello, manifestors. Sorry I haven't made a video in 2 weeks in a row, but I've been so swamped with work. This is why I couldn't make a video. So, to make it up, I'm posting my podcast from Tuesday today because it's a very important podcast where I'm discussing state, everyone is you pushed out, SPs, and all that good stuff. So you don't want to miss it. Also, the quotes that I'm reading in the podcast from Neville, you'll be able to read it along here in the video form. And by the way, I wanted to quickly mention that I now have group coaching that you can find on my website. You just click on coaching here or on coaching with Sylviane here. You scroll all the way down and you'll find the option for group coaching. Once you buy the group coaching, it's good for 4 sessions of 1 hour. So like a month, no matter when you get in the month, you'll get a month worth of coaching. And you will be able to ask your questions either live or through email in advance. It's up to you. Then you'll get the recording of the coaching session afterwards. So without further ado, let's get into our podcast. The day I realized this great truth that everything in my world is a manifestation of the mental activity which goes on within me, and that the conditions and circumstances of my life only reflect the state of consciousness with which I am fused, is the most momentous in my life. But the experience that brought me to this certainty is so remote from ordinary existence, I have long hesitated to tell it, for my reason refused to admit the conclusions to which the experience impelled me. Nevertheless, this experience revealed to me that I am supreme within the circle of my own state of consciousness, and that it is the state with which I identified that determines what I experience. Therefore, it should be shared with all, for to know this is to become free from the world's greatest tyranny, the belief in a second cause. Neville Goddard, Awakened Imagination, Chapter 7, Creation is Finished. Indeed, the greatest tyranny of the world is the belief of a second cause. And even in this community of conscious manifestors, which hopefully most of them have read Neville Goddard, at least some of his main known books, still tend to believe in a second cause. What does it mean to believe in a second cause? Well, it's to believe in a force, in a God that is outside of you, or even a reason outside of you, which we find a lot in people who feel like they are victims. They feel that they are victims of things or people outside of them. When we know the law, we learn this thing that frees us all, which Neville mentions here, which is the truth of the fact that there is no cause, there is no God outside of us. Yes, there is a process that goes beyond us. For example, why do we say that when we manifest, when we have a desire that we want to manifest, rather, we need to go to the end? Because by going to the end, we let the process of the law doing its thing, which is above and beyond what our little ego can do. However, it is because we are the God of our own reality that we can choose specifically what end we want in whatever area of life we want to manifest whatever. There is no force outside of us that can tell us that we can or cannot do something, because that force is within us and it's called imagination. And everything that we experience, that you and me ever experience and ever will experience, was imagined, whether or not it was conscious. But there is nothing that you experience that came out of nowhere from a cause outside of you. In other words, life doesn't happen to you, but from you. Everything you've experienced so far, good or bad, was at some point imagined. For example, sometimes I have clients who may send me a message because they feel very bad in that moment. Whatever they feel, it's because they have imagined it, right? Most likely unconsciously. But somehow they have imagined to be the opposite of what they are supposed to imagine, the opposite of what they want to be. So when you have a desire, no matter what it is, even if it's a specific person, you are supposed to see and feel good about yourself, right? You're supposed to feel that you are the person who has the SP. It's never about them. It's about you. Who do you feel that you are as a person? If you are this amazing woman, this amazing man that has everything that they want, who is on top of their game whatsoever, automatically you are going to imagine things that are going to match that, right? And that's going to be your state. You are going to be in the state of someone who is not going to feel like a victim. Nowhere near this. But if you end up feeling like a victim and you feel the need to reach out to me because you felt so negatively about yourself, it was imagined. Somehow you were in a state of consciousness that dictated a very negative feeling because it was imagined. You imagined that you were somewhat of a victim. And please remember that when we talk about imagination, when Neville talked about imagination, he didn't mean just when you close your eyes and visualize a little scene. Imagination is always on. We imagine all the time, 24/7. Even when we sleep, it's called dreaming. We imagine all the time. Not just when we close our eyes and go into a sat or into an imaginal act. And the only cause for feeling like a victim, it's you. You are the cause of feeling a certain way. Somehow you are imagining to be that person. You are using your inner man instead of using it for powerful things. You could be imagining whatever, really. You're using that inner man to be on top of the world, to feel powerful. But instead, you are using that same powerful inner man to feel like a victim. And when we feel a certain way, people are complete mirrors of how we feel. And I've known that for a while, but man oh man, do I know this now for sure. Not only because of my own experience, but because I can add up the experiences of so many people. And I even see that happening live pretty much, because I have people that I'm coaching here locally, and as soon as something unwanted happens to them, they tend to tell me. And I see how, and I'm helping them to see it as well, how other people are mouthing their very own thoughts, the thoughts that they have about themselves. And this, my dear friend, especially if you are manifesting a specific person, like many of you out there, you've got to get this in your head once and for all. Your SP right now doesn't feel so much what you feel about them, but they certainly feel what you feel about yourself. This is super important that you understand this, guys. People don't feel so much what you feel about them. People in general, and SPs are like just everyone else. People tend to feel what you feel about yourself. And this is what it means when we say we are all one. It's not that people can read what you think about them, but they certainly read, mostly unconsciously, certainly. They feel it and they respond to it accordingly. They feel what you feel about yourself. So being the cause also means that you are responsible for people to feel about you what you feel about yourself. And remember this, guys. Remember this. Whoever it is that you are manifesting in your life, what you feel about yourself is way, way more important than what you feel about them. And that's what really counts at the end of the day. You think you manifest a specific person in regards to what you feel about them. That's only 10-20% of what you should focus on. But trust me, 80% is and should be about you. What do you feel about you? Do you feel that you are an amazing person? Do you feel that you are a catch? Do you feel that you are worthy? Do you feel that you are the best thing that has ever happened to them? Because if you don't feel those things and more about yourself, they're not going to feel it either. Do you feel that you're not good enough? Do you feel that you are too old, too fat, too skinny, and so forth and so on? If you feel those things about yourself, they are going to feel the same as well. So I hope you understand why what really matters is what you feel about yourself. Like I said, 80% it's about that, and only 10-20% about what you feel about them and what you feel about them thinking about you. Those are not so important. While you can add that up, yes, like I said, 20% of it. But what you feel about yourself is the most important thing. So, in conclusion, guys, your imagination creates the states that you are in. And from the state that you are in, your world revolves around. Your world reflects back onto you. Through the medium, most of the time, of people, of course. And this is why we are saying everyone is you pushed out. There's not even any discussion about this. Everyone is you pushed out. But this is one of those topics that is so misunderstood. Just the same as when we use the phrase letting go. Those things are so widely misunderstood in the community of conscious manifesting, because I think a lot of people are still very much polluted by the teaching of the law of attraction. And I want to end this podcast with this quote from Neville, again, in the book Awakened Imagination. I encourage you to read this book. I'm rereading it and I'm rediscovering things. So if you've never read it, you know what I mean. So here's what it says. The moment man matches the beliefs of any state, he fuses with it. And this union results in the activation and projection of its plots, plans, dramas, and situations. It becomes the individual's home from which he views the world. It is his workshop, and if he is observant, he will see outer reality shaping itself upon the model of his imagination. So your beliefs, your assumptions become your state. And from that state fuses everything in your world. You are projecting any plots, plans, dramas, and situations, as Neville says here. And people in those plots, plans, dramas, and situations have to reflect back onto you. That's why states are so important. That's why imagination is so important. And that's why it's God. Imagination creates the state. the states project into the world, that projection comes back onto you. It reflects back onto you like a mirror, and this is why Neville called the world of shadows. And by the way, for those who don't know it, he started calling the world of shadows because he quoted William Blake. And if you know Neville, you know he was a great admirer of William Blake, who was most definitely someone very well aware and awake about this law. With that, my friend, I hope you enjoyed it. As always, thank you for listening, and I truly appreciate you.